Hey, good morning. Steve Wiideman, Hansel and True, here on Search and Sip, drinking Stereoscope iced vanilla coffee at the corner of Rosecrans and Beach in La Mirada, and we're having a nice coffee today. So, cheers. Cheers.
Cappuccino, Java Jive, Mocha Latte, Java Jive. I love coffee, I love tea. I love the Java.
That is actually pretty good. I'm really more like the
That's good.
black coffee and whatever, but this is
That's actually really good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be done with it by the end of this.
So today we thought we'd talk about how you can become a SEO specialist, right? We use the word expert a lot as more of a joke because of kind of the challenge we had back in my early days in corporate, where somebody who I worked for said, hey, if you want to take this position, you have to show me that you can show up for SEO expert. And I'm like, well, you can't be an expert in something that you don't have access to how it works, right? There's tips that Google provides you, developer documents and other cool stuff, but they don't say, here's how you can rank your page in our results. They just don't do that. That's their secret sauce.
You know what the definition of an expert is, right? Don't you? An expert is someone that knows more and more about less and less until they know absolutely everything about absolutely nothing. So SEO is too broad to be an expert.
There you go. Yep.
Just kidding.
So ergo the joke, right? So there's not really an expert, but if you want to get really good at SEO and you want to be a leader in the field of SEO, there's some things that you can do. And I also want to talk about conferences a bit today too, because I've been to a lot of them and I got a lot of interesting feedback.
You've spoken at a lot of them.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting story. So thinking about what you could do today, you've been watching our videos and you're learning a little bit about what's going on in voice search and all this new tech, and you've been to our website and gone to our Learn section and learned about location-based SEO and how to rank in maps, and you're learning all these different things from us if you've just kind of started out in SEO. But what else could you be learning? Where else could you be going? Well, one of the things that we do here that's a little bit different than what a lot of other kind of day in, day out agencies do is we spend up to an hour a day really consuming content around what's happening today in search. And to do that, we've made it really easy. We've created a Twitter list, right? If you go to my old SEO Steve handle in Twitter and click on my list, you'll see one that says SEO Experts. So every day, it's pinned to my browser. Every day when I log in, the first thing I see is a feed of all the SEO experts and what they're tweeting about right now. And as they start to tweet about less interesting things and not around the topics I'm really interested in, I'll drop them off. So I've been keeping that feed up to date. That's the first thing. Right now, what are the industry experts tweeting about if they're tweeting? But not all experts are using Twitter. So what we've done is over the last 20 years, we've compiled a list of every expert who writes on a blog post somewhere. And we've taken all of those RSS feeds and put them into Feedly. So it's Feedly if you go to feedly.com. And we've got it nice and organized too. So we've got it bucketed out by industry news from all the search engine news sites. We've got one specifically for the elite of the elite and what they write about, the guys that we really look up to that do a good job in search strategy. And we've got a bucket for link building or link baiting. We've got one for content marketing and influencer marketing, social media, conversion optimization, paid search. We've got a bucket for each one of those disciplines in search. And what's great about Feedly is when they give you the daily feed, it's organized by what's getting the most attention, what's getting the most engagement. So you can go right to the top one, you'll see like 500 people are engaging with this content.
That's awesome.
And it sorts its way down. So we spend as much time as we can in the morning, up to an hour.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when your team comes together and then we start talking about the same articles and news stories during the day, it's great.
Yep.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And usually I'm generally a pretty big fan in printed, like reading books. But I mean, the SEO world is just moving too quickly to get information passed down, get it in print, for me to buy that book. So this is incredibly helpful to just have that resource.
You know what's neat about it too is when you start reading these articles, if you're not familiar with some of the things that are going on, most of them link to reference sites of where you can get more information. So when a news site says Google took the next step in their new mobile first, algorithm, there's a link to mobile first, so you can dig in and learn more about it. Most of the good writers will, when they mention something that that's a point or a topic or a subtopic, they'll link to more information that they have about it on their site if they have it, or on an external site if they don't. So there's two ways out the gate every day that you can start consuming content to get up to speed with what's happening now. And as Drew said, you don't have to go through college and read books on something that's so new tech.
Yeah.
You can dive right into it and what's being said today. And as you start crawling through the links in those articles, you're going to get up to speed with what's going on. The other thing I do that has been a little bit changing to me over the last couple of years, and how I look at search, is I've joined communities, the right communities. Stay away from the shady black hat and you know, the rookies in search, and jump right into all the bloggers that are in that Feedly feed and in that experts Twitter list. Find them on Facebook and ask them what groups they participate in that you could join to get better at search. And what's interesting is when one of us has a tough conundrum on something, we reach out and we say, hey, can anybody here help me with a sitemap issue? Just the other day, one of our clients, a major shoe franchise, had a serious issue with their international XML sitemaps not validating correctly. And I reached out to one of those community groups, and Pierre Farr from Google actually jumped in. He's not with Google anymore, but he was for 5 years. He was like one of the main product managers there. Jumped in and said, I can help with that. I introduced him to my client. We solved the XML sitemap issue. That all happened within a 24-hour period. So,
and you were saying, I mean, and I believe this, is that, you know, you have this community and everyone's helping each other, and, you know, frankly, I don't see the world working that way. People are generally cutthroat. It's a zero-sum game. Every dollar that I earn, you don't, and but this isn't the case, because the internet, with it booming, everyone is so freely willing to help each other, because, hey, if I help you, Steve, with your shoe franchise, there's going to be so much more game and opportunity for you to bless me back. So I love that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's really neat. The community is great. There are some personalities in our community, and eventually they weed themselves out, either through their egos, right? Their I know everything, their negative attitudes toward things. They isolate themselves and kind of get removed from a lot of the groups and communities. There's still a lot of childish behavior that happens. You can't change people, but things tend to fix themselves over time. And the groups that I'm in, and you can message us and we can show you a list of all those different groups. In fact, we should actually publish an article on the blog with a list of all the different groups that I personally participate in. So anyone who's interested can do that. So there's a couple ways right away. The other thing is I mentioned conferences. But did you have a question?
No, I was going to ask you about conferences.
So conferences have gotten really, really interesting. In the 2000s, I would go to whatever conference I could. PubCon, Search Engine Strategies, anything and everything. Search Marketing Expo, SMX, anything that I could go to better my skills in search. And what I've seen happen over the last couple of years, and there's always going to be the anomalies, but what I've seen happen is the major search conferences, because there's so many of us strategists that want to speak at these conferences now, that the speakers in some cases are having to pay, right? Or you've got to be in what they call the inner circle of search. There's about, I don't know, probably 50 people that are in this inner circle. And I'll be honest with you, I've never been in it because I've been so client-oriented that I haven't been able to participate as much and be at as many of these conferences and hang out at the bar with as many of the, the folks that are in that inner circle. So regardless of how amazing my presentation topic has been for some of these conferences, I've been denied. And then I've watched as lesser interesting topics with less data and case study from major brands have been able to present. I realized this isn't about me. This is about the inner circle. So if you do go to a search conference, be aware that a big part of what is happening is the presenter is there to build their brand and their authority in search to try to earn more business. They're going to give you some good tips and advice, but it's not going to be quite as actionable, and it's not necessarily going to be by somebody who's in the trenches. Look for, if you're going to go to the conferences, look for the actual names of the people who work for IBM and the big companies. If you see Bill Hunt on the roster, go to that. Bill Hunt is amazing. He wrote Search Marketing
Shout
Inc.,
out.
which is one of the books that I kind of grew up doing search with. And so the conferences to go to, if you want to go to those, it's great. Go and mingle, and maybe you can get into that inner circle. I wasn't able to. And I think you'll have a lot of fun because the search industry in general, we party really hard and we drink and we have a lot of fun. But go to some of the really niche conferences. Go to some of the local ones. Go to something where you're more immersed with an audience that's more like you, because those search conferences are really, they book up with a lot of the same group of people, and there's just not a lot of new content. It's a lot of the same mobile first and structured markup and content marketing and social media. It's a lot of kind of the standard stuff.
Now I will say, for Steve, it's the standard stuff. For someone like myself, I've only gone to a couple of these conferences, and I noticed a similar sort of phenomenon of what I learned at conferences, and I think even shaving off like my mile time. It's like, if you're a runner and you're just getting into running, you're starting out at a really, I don't mean to bash anyone, but like a slower mile, let's say 10-minute pace. And at the very beginning, you're able to see tons of progress. You go from 10 minutes to 9 to 8 super quickly. But when you start shaving off mile times from 6 down to 5, like that minute takes you much longer than the previous 4 minutes to shave off combined. That's sort of what happens for me at these conferences. Is like the first couple that I went to, I saw these massive leaps in how much I was learning, because I went from nothing, a 10-minute mile, to like a 7 or 6-minute mile. I'm like, this is crazy, great progress. But yeah, I began to see a little bit of the more of the same stuff getting shared. However, asking someone that was a seasoned veteran next to me, he says that he goes as the sort of like an expert in his own field. He's like, I've been to so many of these things. I go here, if I get one nugget, if I get one good thing, that was totally worth $1,000 or whatever it cost for me to get into this conference. So
yeah, definitely
something to take note of.
I would look at, when you're looking at the sessions to go to, there's generally like 4 different tracks. When you're looking at the sessions, look up, research the person, right, and look at previous events that they had done, if they've done any. If they haven't, then you might do some outreach to the guy who's running the event and say, tell me why you chose this person, because there's nothing, your time is so important. And when you sit there and you're watching a PowerPoint presentation and you don't get actionables, you don't get templates, you don't get a checklist of what to work on, you don't get a list of the tools to use, you leave with a lot of interesting ideas floating around, but nothing that you can take back and work on. So
it's pointless.
yeah, it's pointless, and it's they're doing a disjustice. So look at whether they've done past events and talk to the guys who are running the events and ask, what's been the feedback. I'm trying to pick which sessions I want to go to. Which of the presenters in these different tracks has had the best reviews. I don't need to know what the reviews are, but which ones had the best reviews, so I can focus my time on those that are going to provide the most actionable information, the best templates, the best checklists, and the best list of tools to use. I think that's the way that you're going to win.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So I gave you a bunch of different ideas, right? We talked about Twitter lists, our Feedly. We'll post a link to it on our blog. Talked about conferences. We talked about the different groups within LinkedIn and Facebook and so forth that you can join to stay active in the community and kind of hear what's going on. And
follow us as well at SEO Steve and at Wiideman as well.
There we go.
Yeah, it should be on the Wiideman. I should be using my SEO Steve for fun stuff now that we've actually got a business account. Anyway, well, cool. And we'll post a link to the blog post once we have it live in the description, and we look forward to your questions.
Stereoscope Coffee, I slammed this whole thing.
Oh my God.
I'm telling you, this was a good one.
Floating through the hallways.
This was a good one.
Cheers.
All right, cheers.